everyone. Welcome to the session on translating research questions into hypotheses. In earlier modules, we explored what a hypothesis is, its key characteristics, and the main sources from which hypotheses are derived. In this session, we focus on a crucial transition in the research process. That is, how to convert research questions into testable hypotheses. After completing this session, you will be able to differentiate clearly between research questions and hypotheses in the context of quantitative and applied research. Explain the importance of translating research questions into hypotheses for empirical testing, particularly in regression and structural equation modeling. Identify key research constructs embedded within a research question across management, logistics, and social science domains. Determine the nature of relationships among constructs, including directionality and causality based on theoretical foundations. Translate broad research questions into clear, precise, and testable hypotheses suitable for quantitative analysis. Decompose a single research question into multiple hypotheses where constructs have multiple dimensions or mediated relationships. Apply a systematic step-by-step framework to convert research questions into hypotheses. Evaluate the quality of translated hypotheses by assessing clarity, theoretical alignment, and empirical testability. Identify and avoid common errors in translating research questions into hypotheses, such as vagueness, overloading, and the lack of theoretical grounding. Formulate hypotheses that can be directly represented as structural paths in conceptual and SEM models. The transformation of research questions to hypotheses is especially important in quantitative, applied, and SEM-based research because statistical methods do not test questions. They test hypotheses. Let us begin by clearly distinguishing between a research question and a hypothesis. A research question expresses curiosity. It frames what the researcher wants to understand. For example, how does leadership style influence employee performance? A hypothesis, however, is a declarative statement. It specifies what the researcher expects to find. For example, transformational leadership has a positive effect on employee performance. So remember this. Research questions ask what or how. Hypotheses state what is expected. Why is this translation important? In methods like regression analysis, path analysis, structural equation modeling, the software does not test the questions. It tests relationships specified as hypotheses. In applied research, data analysis cannot be performed on questions. Statistical techniques require explicit hypotheses, especially in SEM. Each hypothesis corresponds to a structural path. Vague questions lead to weak models, poor fit indices, and reviewer rejection. Therefore, every quantitative research question must be translated into one or more hypotheses. Translating research questions into hypotheses is not optional, it is foundational. Let us now follow a systematic framework. Consider this research question. How does digital transformation affect firm performance? The first step is to identify the core constructs. Here, they are digital transformation and firm performance. At this stage, we focus only on concepts, not measurement. Next, determine the nature of the relationship. Is it causal? Is it associative? Does theory suggest a direction? In most applied research, the relationship is directional and theory-driven. Now translate the question into a hypothesis. Digital transformation positively influences firm performance. Notice the change. The statement is now testable and directional. If the dependent variable has multiple dimensions, it is better to write multiple hypotheses. For example, digital transformation positively affects financial performance and digital transformation positively affects operational performance. This improves clarity and supports SEM modeling. Let us look at a management research example. If the research question is stated as, what is the role of leadership in employee retention? Based on theory, leadership influences retention indirectly. So we write, transformational leadership positively affects employee engagement. Employee engagement positively affects retention. One question has now become a structured causal model. Now consider logistics research. A strong translation of the research question, how does technology adoption improve supply chain efficiency, would be, adoption of warehouse management systems positively affects inventory accuracy. Inventory accuracy positively affects supply chain efficiency. This structure supports indirect effect testing. Now let us consider education research. A research question here may be, what factors influence students' satisfaction with online learning? After literature review, key constructs emerge. So, we write the hypothesis as, perceived instructional quality positively influences student satisfaction. Student-instructor interaction positively influences student satisfaction. Multiple hypotheses can be tested simultaneously. Before moving to a quiz, let us briefly review common mistakes. Do not translate questions word for word. Do not write vague or abstract hypotheses. Do not ignore theory when specifying direction. Do not overload a single hypothesis, and do not confuse objectives with hypothesis. A useful check is this. If your hypothesis cannot be drawn as a path diagram, it likely needs refinement. Answer the following questions to check your understanding. Here are the answers. To conclude, research questions define what you want to explore. Hypotheses define what you expect to find. Clear translation improves model clarity, statistical validity, and research impact. To summarize this session, we discussed how broad research questions are systematically converted into clear, theory-driven, and testable hypotheses, highlighted the distinction between questions and hypotheses, presented a step-by-step translation framework, and demonstrated the process using applied examples from management, logistics, and social sciences. The session also emphasized best practices and common errors, showing how well-formulated hypotheses form the foundation for quantitative analysis and structural equation modeling. In the next session, we will focus on identifying variables and writing hypotheses from research models and published papers, and also discuss common pitfalls in hypothesis formulation. Thank you for watching. See you in the next session.